Okay. All right. So I think we're live streaming like now, but it doesn't show me the
Yeah, but I think
screen
we're
yet.
on.
Yeah, but we're live. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
I think we lost two. Okay. Sorry. Okay, we are officially live streaming. I'm going to bring up the chat. Okay, got it. Ida, I feel like we lost 2 subscribers. I feel like we lost 2 subscribers. We had
Where?
3 on YouTube.
Oh,
Are people already canceling us? And we're not even to our 7th episode. It's so interesting to see. Ida and I were just talking. Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Delusional Confidence, the podcast. My name is Emily. I am on Instagram at emily's.rootawakening, also YouTube at emily's.rootawakening. This is Ida at The Chilling Therapist on YouTube and Instagram. We join ourselves on this podcast every week on Thursday to talk about mainly building our dream careers and working in the self-employed industry, but we also talk about life. I would identify as a self-development coach. I own a self-development company called Root Awakening, and Ida, take it from here.
Like, come on, Ida. And yeah, I'm Ida, aka the Chilling Therapist. I am a therapist and also a wellness coach. That's what I do. And I'm super passionate about helping you advocate for yourself with your voice, baby.
Yeah. Nice.
So we lost 2 subscribers. Wow.
I think we did, because I swear we had 3+ and we're back down to 1. So here we go. I mean, this is entrepreneurship for you guys. Not that things get shitty, but that things are just unexpected. The entire career of an entrepreneur is non-conventional. That's just how it is. And I like that everyone gets to see our journey, because people go and look at successful people's profiles who have like 100,000 viewers, and they say, oh, they must have just always had that, or they just blew up at some point. And yes, some people do blow up, but for me, it's been 1 fucking subscriber or follower or joiner, sometimes 1 a week, Ida. It hasn't even been 1 a day. And sometimes it works like that. It's like a slow build, and there are twists and turns along the way, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. Funnily enough, I wasn't even looking. So when you said we lost 2, I was like, we what? Oh. But yeah, it is what it is. As always, you know, people will love us, some will not love us, and that's okay. We're still gonna be delusional in our confidence.
And that's the delusional part, you know, even when people are telling you not to do what you're doing. Yeah, you do it anyway. I have to say that I do love, I like a little bit of drama. I had to accept that about myself recently, because here's the thing, you know, when we were talking about haters and dealing with haters and the philosophy behind that, I think that was the last episode, on episode 5. I started to like just observe myself a little bit more around the hater situation, and like manifesting haters, like this whole narrative of the more successful you get, the more haters you have. I started to observe like, I wonder if I am manifesting, but I never have had a lot of haters, and I don't know if I'll have a point in time where that happens. But I just like to look at these things, and I thought about it, and I was like, there is definitely a part of me that wants the haters to come, that wants to, there's a part of me that's like, come at me, everybody, like, let's talk about what I'm doing, like, be open about the negative thoughts that you have about me, so I can say something about them. And there's something that I like about the drama. And I am wondering, Ida, the people who really struggle with having haters, if there's a part of them that wants the drama, but they don't know that yet. And that's part of the problem, right? There's like yeah, it's just interesting. What do you think about this?
It could be. And it's interesting you said that, because my whole journey till now, I haven't experienced haters, so to speak. I think my idea of haters is someone, and it's not even hater, like the only thing that I'm open to receiving is opposing ideas and
Right.
challenging my viewpoints. So for me, I don't see that as haters per se. So it's funny because the other day when we were on, when we were doing our live, and someone jumped on and spoke about how hideous my nails were. It's funny because I went back and I was like, oh, that's the first time ever. That's so interesting.
That was your first hater ever.
Ever.
And it was someone from my audience too. So technically, technically, like if you were just live, you wouldn't have received that hater.
And so no, it kind of crossed my mind. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Is that the energy that we're curating? Because I'm not available for that. What I'm available for is opposing views and thoughts, where people come and they're like, even if the person's like, oh, I wonder why you chose those nail colors, or I wonder, hey, I'm just wondering, I wonder why you done your nails like that. I wonder why. Open for dialogue. That's what I'm available for. So it was very interesting for me, but I went away thinking I'm not available for that. And I didn't even feed into it. Didn't really, because I'm just not available for that. And that's what I see in my life. Like, and I think most of the times, even living here in Ghana, I've had friends, family members who are always telling me about how challenging Ghana is and the difficulty and the people and stuff. It's not that I don't see it. I see it, but I'm not available for it. Yeah. And because I'm not available for it, it's not affecting me the way it's affecting them.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That's the entire reason why I completely disengaged from the news and politics. And I realized how people's lives just get, like, in my opinion, torn apart. I mean, I've seen it in my family. It's happened in my family. Like, politics has literally torn my family apart. And I'm like, doesn't even have to be that way. And is it even worth it? And are you even helping, But like, we don't have to get into that. But I think it is very interesting, Ida, responding to what you were saying just there about how when you become unavailable for a reality, whether that be having haters or getting in sync with this idea that there's all this suffering in the world and making that a part of you and your life when maybe it doesn't need to be. I'm using my own words, not your words, right? But like, I think it's just interesting when we disengage from certain realities here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, it's very interesting because sometimes I'm like, I recently asked someone, I'm like, oh, am I oblivious to everything that's happening in the world? No, I'm not. I recognize that right now there's suffering in the world. I recognize the economic crises. I recognize that things are not working out. And even in my own personal life, things are not as simple as I would like it to be, economically and financially. However, I'm just not letting it kill my vibe.
Yeah, why would we? Like, how is it helping to suffer with other people? That's the biggest, I think I'm so passionate about this topic. I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions we have on earth. The idea that if we suffer, or let me add this in, if we pretend to suffer with other people because we feel guilty that maybe we're not suffering as bad as other people, there is an idea circulating earth that, or at least like our world here on the internet, right? There is an idea circulating the world that if we pretend to feel bad about that, or if we do feel bad about that, or if we suffer with other people, that makes us a better person and we're helping. And it's not true. It doesn't make sense. It's one of these things in society that we just keep fucking doing when it doesn't make sense. And you explain it to someone like this and they say, you're right, it doesn't make sense. And then people just keep doing it. And that we're waking up slowly, I believe. We're starting to realize that that's not working, but it's just one of these things, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think for me, if we're all suffering with everyone suffering, who's going to hold the vision of hope? Who's going to hold the vision of betterment? Who, like, if we're all, who's going to hold it? So I'd rather come to the person suffering and offer, I guess, my hope or my innocence, because sometimes people appreciate that. You know, like, they don't want you to, and that's why when I was doing my live the other day, I'm like, if you catch me crying, don't feel like, oh, poor her. No. Hold me in my power. Hold me in that. Meet me there. You know, so when someone's falling, it's not about, you know, falling with them, but holding them high. It's a whole concept of, if someone's drowning, you don't jump in and try to save them. Rather, you know, you can call for help or put an arm out or put something out. Like, don't get in there as well, because you're going to go down too. And then who's going to save who? If both of you drown, then what? There's no sense in that, really.
And how long have we been seeing that? Like, I've just seen it around me in the US, and I tried this myself when I lived in New York City. And look, let me be very clear that everyone has a place in this life. Like, some people will get in there and take action in the political realm and help things, right? That's go for it. I just think that I think a lot of people are trying to force themselves to be in that position when they don't want to. And likely their place on earth is somewhere different, because we need people in all different places in the political realm, but not in the political realm, helping others, right? But I think a lot of us have felt like we needed to force ourselves to be in the political realm, when really we could be helping a lot more people in ways that we gain energy to continue to help people.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely. And go for it, then. Go for it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And like recently, geez, I'm always going to go back to human design, just like you always go back to Amanda Francis. Oh, my days. You know, my motivation. So in human design, everyone has their own motivation. Okay. There's I think there's anger, there's desire, there's innocence, I can't remember all of them, but mine is innocence, right? And I think at some point I was kind of feeling like, oh, well, if it's innocence, then what? Because innocence is basically like having no agenda, disengaging, right? But I recently came across this person who explains it so beautifully. If you're interested in human design, a person that I quite like her way of being and exploring human design is Sam Zager. I think that's her name. And she's also innocence, so I kind of watch her a lot. And she said for her, how she's now come to understand her role in all of this as an innocent motivation person is kind of like, you know, when there's a car accident, not everyone can run to the scene and you know, help out. Some people are taking selfies, some people are just standing there watching, some people are, you know, hands-on. But at the end of the day, guess what? When the ambulance comes, guess who they ask? The person who was the witness, the person who was standing there watching. Yeah. When the police come, they go to witness. So everyone has a role to play. If we were all doing hands-on, who will be the witness?
100%.
Who's going to tell the story?
Oh, yeah.
Who's going to tell the perspective? Who's going to tell what happened? We will never know.
I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. And it makes sense. Everybody can't be doing the same thing. It's another one of these things where it's like, it doesn't make sense, yet we just have to realize it doesn't make sense to stop doing it, you know? Like, oh yeah, this doesn't make sense. Okay, so all right. something I just want to say right now, going back to the topic of drama
Okay.
and haters, because I love that, Ida, you say you're just not available for any of that. And that's totally Ida. And again, the innocent part, like, what did you say? Being innocent is, what was your description?
So there are different kinds of motivation. What motivates people? Innocence motivates. So my motivation is innocence. Some people, theirs is anger, guilt, there's different types of motivation and what motivates each and every person.
Wait, can you change that though? Because being motivated by guilt doesn't sound like super.
It doesn't fit within your, but with human design, the words are keynotes. So they're not like, it doesn't mean guilt how we think of it.
Oh.
I'm gonna Google all the motivations.
I definitely, in a more literal sense, I used to be really motivated by guilt.
Yeah, and that is a motivation in here. Okay, so there's fear, hope, desire, need, guilt, and innocence. These are the 6 motivations. Human design, that perspective. It says that we all have, everyone's chart has one. Imagine you check your chart and it says yours is guilt.
I know. I was just thinking about it because
we gotta check.
How do we find out?
Genetic metrics.
Is this a Gene Keys thing?
No, it's human design.
Okay, how do I look it up?
So you go to genetic, because they're the only ones who Google genetic metrics.
Okay. No, so what I would like it to say is desire, because that's on brand for me.
That would be on brand, eh? But if that's still on brand for you, so basically most of us are in the transference of it. So for me, the transference of innocence is desire. So sometimes I desire to do things, I desire to jump in, be hands-on, but that's my transference. That's not actually, mine. So yours could be, the guilt could be a transference of something, or yours could be guilt. Who knows? Let's see.
I don't want it to be guilt so bad.
No. No, if anything, it could be the transference. So it could be that yours is not guilt, but you transfer into guilt a lot. No wonder you don't want to transfer into it anymore. That could make sense. And then your guilt thing would make sense too. The whole dialogue around guilt, your perspective on guilt, that would make perfect sense.
Wait, what would make sense?
Your perspective on guilt.
Oh, because if it's a transference, then I'm like, fuck guilt. Yeah. Okay, but can you tell us what transference means?
Oh yeah, so transference means like basically the opposite. No, it's not the opposite. That's not true. Transference is kind of like your go-to. So how should I put it? It's not even 2 sides of a coin. It's kind of like the shadow side of it.
Yeah. It's like if you're looking up other types of human design, it's like the not self.
Yeah. So the transference is kind of like, you lean towards that more when that shouldn't be your, you tend to lead more with that. Like for me, the most times where I desire to do something, it's like, I want to kind of step in and like, instead of like just being the witness, because it's not easy just being the witness.
I feel like you're so good at that now. Like you've really mastered just
naturally, even before I found out that, and it all made sense because I'm like, I'm a bit objective, very laid back. Like, I'm a very like, you would never get a particular opinion. You'd ask me, what do you think about this? And it's like, yeah, well, there's this point of view and there's that point of view. I wonder what your point of view would be. And it's like,
you picked such a good field. Like even before, right? You just knew that therapy was like fitting with you. Can you tell me the website one more time?
Genetic Matrix, matrix.com.
Oh, okay. I'm excited. I love these personalities.
I'm excited.
We should link this whenever I do get to the show notes. We should link.
Yeah, guys, check out your human design. It's transformational.
Magical. It totally is. Okay, so what I was gonna say while I'm looking this up about drama is oh, okay. So what I'm really proud of is I don't have any unwanted drama in my life at this point.
Define unwanted.
Like you're like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Or it's this drawn out thing with this friend, or somebody keeps attacking you. Any prolonged drama that just feels like an event. It's like, it's drama, but creating like an overall drama in my life.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that, but I do have like little bits of drama, but it's always with random people. It's always random people that just like come on my page for a bit. And then somehow they still end up like, we just have an interesting exchange. You know how I'm not going to go on and on about this again, but I back in high school, I decided, I love that you say, I'm not available for this wording, because that's exactly what it felt like. I was having this drama with friends and like just like nonstop unwanted drama of like, oh my God, why is this happening again? And I just became like, no, I'm not. I'm just completely going to cut everyone out of my life who is creating this. And like, of course, now as adults, it's a little bit more, you could have conversations, you have a lot of options. But at the time I was like, I just kind of knew I didn't want to be friends with them anymore. And ever since then, that was like my first big boundary I put up in my life that I can remember. Ever since then, there's no crazy drama. There's no like unwanted drama. It's like, I need the little bits of drama for like, I like the spiciness. Like I like the little bit of entertainment. And I like to kind of, there's a part of me, I used to love this and I've kind of let go of it, but I still really like to argue, but I don't want to argue with Ida. I don't want to argue with my friends. The drama is always like random ass people that I just kind of like to be like, bam, bam, bam. There's just something entertaining about it.
And I guess you also mentioned that it's you realize that it helps you grow.
I flipped it in so many ways. Like it'll be interesting to see as I grow in popularity how that affects. But right now I feel so solid in that about like the positive parts of these folks, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that.
Okay. And then to me, it makes sense. Like Ida's not the type that would be like, yeah, let's just get a little drama in here. Like you're like one of the chillest people I know.
Yeah. It's like, how can we move forward? And sometimes we can't, and that's okay too, you know?
What do you mean by that?
No, I was like, there are times where someone might want to kind of, whenever something happens, there's this, Eckhart talks about it, calls it the pain body, where it's like people get attached to it, where it's kind of like, you want to bring that energy of like, hey, this happened. And when you're met with like, hey, it annoys you more because you're like, no, I want you to like, and you're like, hey, it's annoying. But so sometimes it just won't work. So we both agree to disagree because it's like, again, I'm not available for that. Mm-hmm. So it's like right now, this is what I'm available for. And it might not work for you, and that's okay. And I respect what you're available for. It's just not aligning at the moment, unfortunately.
Right. Yep. You handle those situations really well. And it'll be interesting to see with this podcast, like you say, I mean, we get what we attract and what we want. We both kind of believe that, even if it's a subconscious want that we don't consciously want. But like, I'm available for a little bit of the drama. Ida's not available for it. Honestly, I feel like it'll be pretty direct. Like we'll attract a little bit of what I'm available for, and overall we'll generally attract Not
But
really much drama.
Exactly. I'll always leave room for you to do your thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never gonna be like, oh, I'm not one to like correct people's behavior. I feel like people do what feels good for them, and you just have to, just let people be and do what feels good for them. Like, there's no point, just because I'm gonna be quiet doesn't mean everyone's gonna be quiet. And there are times where I won't be quiet. It just depends on what it is.
Yep.
Yeah. It depends. And the same way, like if someone came and they were attacking you, I don't know how I'll handle it. Maybe I won't like it.
Maybe, but if you just handled it how I expected Ida to handle it, which is like whatever. Like, that's why we work so well, Ida, and that's why we can be different but in the same space together, because we have enough, we've built up, well, like I wrote in one of your journaling prompts the other day, we've built a foundation, a very strong foundation of like self-worth and stability that everyone is capable of building. We've managed to build it to the point where I don't need you to do anything for me, and you don't need me to do anything for you.
Exactly.
And like you say, we're available for what we're available for. So I know that I don't need you to, I don't have to need you to do anything, because I know I'm only available for a good friend. And the same thing, and a good business partner. And that's how it works out. I don't need to expect shit from you, because it just is. It just is.
Exactly. And I love that. What's coming up?
Okay, so.
Wait, did you create a free chat or did you sign in? Because I think the free chat doesn't give you.
Damn it. I created a free chart.
Yeah, the free one doesn't give you your.
Fudge. Do I have to, I have to pay?
No, you don't have to pay.
Okay. Wait, I should do this on the screen so I can share my screen and show everybody.
Oh yeah, so people can see
it. We're really just fucking around on this episode. I love it. Like literally just hanging out. It's cool. Okay.
Yeah, so it will give you my personality is receptive. My motivation is innocence. My sense is acceptance. My trajectory is observed. My view, look at that. My view perspective is peripheral. It's peripheral. My view is probability, transferred motivation, desire, transferred view, possibility.
All of those words, even though I don't really know what they mean, I'm like, that's so Ida. Like peripheral, it's all like observing, receiving. You're not like taking action all the time.
It's so interesting because the day I found, because only genetic metrics provide this. And so someone mentioned, I went and I checked and I saw that, I was like, oh my God, it makes so much sense. Because sometimes it's like, that's just how I feel.
100%.
It just feels so right for me, like
it
not
does.
to just engage and just to observe and just.
It's so Ida, like it's so Ida, like it's just like you doing that and me witnessing you doing that is like, that's Ida. It's just, there's nothing else to it. It's not like, yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so do I click register?
Yes.
Wait, okay, let me share my screen. How do I do that? Can I?
Yeah, you can. You go.
I know, but can I like on, yeah, okay, share screen. Genetic matrix. Wait, let's just fuck it. Let's just do my desktop so you guys can see all my shit happening. All right, can you see my screen?
As long as there's no naked photos.
I know. I don't look at porn anymore, guys. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah. Okay, so you go to register, yes, but it's not paid. It's free. Or hopefully we don't have to see what you're typing or your details.
That's true. How can I like? All right, I'm gonna stop it just in case. People shouldn't know when my birthday.
And after you put your details in, you can share it. Next minute we have all your details.
Yeah, I know. When I was making that, hey, I put out that financial joy workshop. You know what? When you recommended that for me, and I I just had to use certain examples. So now people know how much I'm paying in car insurance and there's all these details. It's just a part of my life now. It gets more and more intimate. Okay.
Yeah. Intimacy.
Yay. I'm so excited. Wait, are you helping? Did you decide that you wanted to help clients with human design? Because I know people were asking you about that at a certain point in time.
Yeah. If I get invited to do it, I will. Like if someone's like, oh my goodness, can you help me with my chart? Yeah, if I get invited, I will, but I won't. It's not something for now, I'm going to promote in terms of like, hey, I'm doing readings, blah, no. But if someone reaches out and they're like, hey, can you do a reading for me? Then
Sweet.
I probably will.
Yeah. But people watching this episode, just hearing you explain the things, will be able to kind of see what your vibe is on that.
Reach out and be like, hey, Ida, like look into it first though. And then if you're kind of confused, just reach out and be like, hey, maybe I might need a reading, you know.
Yeah.
And take it from there.
What was I gonna say? Oh, okay. So I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while, and we've like danced around the topic, but it hasn't really happened yet about human design. I find like I do want to get a reading or some sort of a situation with you where I can hire you to like help me with my human design. I want to be one of those people that is asking you like, hey, Ida, help. I don't feel extremely called to it, but right now I feel like honestly, the more I disengage from it, the more I can move forward because of how just certain things my brain gets obsessed over. And I kind of like get myself stuck because I put a lot of pressure on it. Like, for example, generator, you've explained this to me before that like, yes, you have to be invited, but it can be very discreet how you're invited. Like
mine is invitation. Yours isn't.
What's
yours
mine?
Is response. So see what happened when we were talking and I was like, I feel like you should get on TikTok. You responded to that and you did it.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so
responding to life, not to people, to life. Right. So the response can come from your intuition. It can come from your thought. It can come from people. It can come from anywhere. But it's something that drops in, like you don't initiate. You're not just there and you're like, I wonder what will happen if I, start selling bicycle. But someone can, or you might all of a sudden, get this intuitive. You might see someone riding a bike and then you get this intuitive feeling. Go and get a bike.
Right. And that all makes sense. But it all makes sense when you describe it like that. I like when you describe things. It all makes sense. But in the moment for me, I guess I just would have to get really, really well read with human design, because in the moment for me, it doesn't feel like that. In the moment for me, it feels like I am creating this idea, because I do get these intuitive feelings like I'm going to create a business coaching program. And yes, I don't realize that maybe this isn't everyone's life experience. To me, the only option is to respond to life, because it's not like I was born and had all these ideas. It's like life happens and then ideas like start to mold in my head. And I guess not everyone feels that way. It's because of this human design.
Manifestors initiate. And if you look at all the manifestors, like look at what Elon Musk is doing. He's a manifest, like they come up with weird shit. They come up with things that are out of this world.
Yeah.
New ideas that no one ever thought of. Even the person who came up with human design, it's like, I think he's a manifesting generator. So it's kind of like just weird, they come up with like weird stuff.
Yeah, I get it. They're like the inventors.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's like, I don't think like that. Like, I don't think, but there's like, for me to put myself into that place of of where I'm at, I know that I'm living my design because things are just like working out well. And you kind of reflect that back to me, right? Like just naturally, I believe that if we're living in balance, we're living in human design. But it's like when I try to live my design based on what I know, it doesn't fucking work, because then I'm like, oh, I have to respond. Okay, so I have to sit back. It's like if I just let myself go and flow, things naturally come into place. But when I oh, this is what okay, this is what I'm supposed to do more of this. It's like I don't realize what's happening. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, then I can't, this idea feels like for me, again, we're going back to the delusional thing, but I believe that type B business school, it's never been created. I haven't seen evidence of that. I believe that it's a completely new invention, this way of looking at business. And like, first of all, there could be programs out there that are like mine. I don't know, but I haven't seen it yet. And second of all, like, I know that some people they go, they still do it in a manifester way, and I'm doing it in like a generator way. But like, it just doesn't feel like that inside of my head. To me, it just feels like it benefits me more to see myself as like, I created this idea, or like this idea was created intuitively, and it's the best thing ever, and it's the most unique thing ever. And when I start getting into, and I know that like I'm still doing it in my generator way, but it's like if I get into like, well, it's like this cool invention, but it's still like the generator version of this. It's not like, it's just like I get all up in my head, and I get like disconnected from what's really happening. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I get you. And I think that's one mistake that, a lot of people make when they come to human design. And human design, one thing it says is when you're new in your experiment, remember, human design is an experiment. They don't tell you that, yes, even though you've come across your design, they're not like, this is the, this is the solution. They're like, you know what? Even though we know this is it, we want you to experiment with it. And the experiment takes 7 years to decondition before you can know that, okay, I'm fully living my design. However, don't try to figure out X, Y, Z. Live with your authority and strategy, and that will be enough to help you live your design. What's your authority? Your gut is your authority. So obviously, right, if you're following your gut, you're going to live your design automatically. So you're not supposed to like go digging deep and stuff like that, because for you it's just about following your strategy and authority. And your strategy is, respond. Your authority is your gut, your sacral response, that orgasmic response. So whatever you feel orgasmic towards, that's what you do. You do more of what feels orgasmic to you, and that's cool. Just you living your design. However, when you pull up your human design chart, everyone's got different profile lines. My profile has a 1 in it. A 1 is an investigator. So of course, when I came across human design, I locked myself in the room and I dug deep, and I went into like, this hole with it, because I have that in my profile. Even before I knew I had that in my profile. All I know is I get obsessed with things, and then I'll lock myself and I'll like study and I'll go deep.
Yes, you will.
Deep. But that's because I have the 1, the investigator. I think you're a 3 something. 3, 5 is.
No, I'm a 5-1.
You're a 5-1. So I think 5 is experimenting. So you're okay. 1, 2. You have a 1. You have line 1 as well. And I'm a 4-1. So 4 is the mind, 1 is the body. Your body is 1. So your body would want to investigate things before it does it. But your mind likes to experiment. I think 5, is it 3 or 5? That's the experimenter. So for you, it's not necessarily about, but the thing is you have the line 1 as well. Mm-hmm. So it's right for you to dive deep into things and like want to know it and stuff like that. However, all you need is your strategy and authority. You don't need anything else. And as you said, you're following your authority, which is your sacral response, your gut.
Yes. I guess it does. It does not fuck me up to follow my gut. If I think about following my gut, that doesn't fuck me up. But the responding thing, just, I find that I get better results without it.
So so you don't have to, they say it's an experiment. Take what works, leave what, it's not like.
Yeah. Because I think it's like, okay, I've heard about this with projectors too, to be honest, and I'll be curious to hear what you have to say. I've heard, I know some of my role models in the self-development industry, not Amanda Francis, there are actually some others. They are projectors, and they were super into human design for a while and like had people featured on their podcasts and stuff that were into human design. And then they kind of broke away from it because they realized that they were kind of holding themselves back with the idea that they have to get a lot of rest. Like it helped them a lot, but like they were like playing small because they're like, well, I have to wait and I have to rest and I can't do this. And so for me, I'm coming from a place earlier on in life of like, any chance I got to play small, I would. And like, no, it's not that big of a deal, or, oh, I'm not that great, or I think I'm just supposed to be in the background here. And like, it's like the vibe. It's like the maybe not so much the words for me, but like the vibe of what generator is, that my mind will get carried away with that and be like, oh, well, I can't play big because like I've had it kind of hinted to me that generator, like manifestor initiates the project, generator kind of like, generator's a great employee. They can be great employees. They're not always, but like they can be. I've heard people say that. And then also like generator kind of what is it? Manifestor starts the project, generator like follows it through, and then somebody finishes the project. Have you heard this?
So projectors guide the energy. Generators have the energy. So generators are the only ones who are actually here to work, like to do work, but only work that feels orgasmic. Right. And then reflectors kind of reflect, the whole. It's like, okay, is this healthy or not? Like, is this environment healthy or not?
Okay. I can't remember. Somebody put it into words of like how it would look if all the different human design types were on a project together. And for whatever reason, it was, I guess it was like the generators are the worker bees. And I've just had it described a lot that like, they're like they're the helpers and not the like creators. And if I followed that shit, like I was just like, no, yeah.
And I think one problem with human design is a lot of people have not studied it. They're coming from their own point of view. Because when you go to the original material, and that's why I listen to persons like Sam, Zaga, Brenton, that's her partner, Brenton something. They go to the original source. They only ever quote or ever study Ra Ura Hu, the founder.
Wow.
They don't use any other material.
That makes sense though.
Whereas everyone else is kind of going on Google and just researching on Google of other people's perspectives and stuff like that. Obviously that dilutes what it is, because as I'm saying, some of these words are even keynotes. So when you hear respond, someone will explain it to you, but when you go to the original source, you realize that no, it's how it's explained is not actually what it is.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really like going to the original source and the people, because how Sam, look at how, because for me, because I was struggling with innocence. I was like, what is that? Like, I want to, but once she explained it, she's like, it's like in a car accident, the people who stand by, and when the cops and the police come, they're like, what happened here? Then they're like, I know this and this and this and this and this and that, because they were observing. They had time to take it in. Then I'm like, okay, so I'm functional. I have a function too. But if someone's just like, innocence, you feel like you don't have a function, because what is innocence? Innocent people do nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. But that's not what it means.
Right.
And that's what it's originally channeled. So I'm pretty careful in terms of like the people that I go to for.
Yeah. And I think it's like we all have different associations with words, and that's kind of what I mean about the vibe. Like Ida hears innocence and she thinks, okay, that just sounds like someone doing nothing, right?
But witness,
Totally.
and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Witness
makes
is totally different. And like, or like objective bystander makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's actually what she used. She said a bystander, but not just that. She said the something bystander. And it just made sense. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That resonates.
Exactly. Yeah. And then for me, it's like, it's kind of been so far, what's worked for me has been like, the opposite is the medicine in the way. Like, I really need to hype myself up. I really need to see myself as the star of the show. That's how I like get the motivation to work and get behind my shit. Because otherwise I won't get behind my shit. It's just like, it's like the trauma self, or like what we were talking about, like the not self, like, you know, how you're, for people that haven't looked into any of this shit before, like how if you're just behaving on trauma response, right? It's like, it's not you. And it's not the behavior that gets you the results that feel good to you, but it's the behavior that you just tend to do. And like part of your life journey is to like learn how to not do that, you know, like whatever, or you could see it as like whatever as is imbalanced out of your life or whatever. Not everyone believes in balance, but yeah, so for me, it's like downplaying my shit. That's like my trauma. Or maybe I should just be a helper. Or maybe I should just sit in the background. So any words that sound like, oh, you're a helper, or like you're not meant to be self-employed, I'm like, can't.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, that doesn't resonate with me.
Exactly.
And it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Okay, so I have my chart up.
Let's see.
Okay.
Wow, who knew this is what we're gonna talk about today?
I know.
Okay, so now
love it.
you wanna click on quantum.
Oh.
Look at you. You have the channel of struggle.
Yeah, what does that mean? That's not surprising to me, and it sounds like it sucks.
That's interesting. I don't know much about that channel.
Ida's laughing.
Yeah, I'm laughing because it's like all the things you don't resonate with. Okay, go to personality.
Oh, quantum personality.
Yeah. Okay. No, your motivation is need.
Oh.
And your sense is meditation. Did you know that? Oh, no. Your motivation is fear. Your transferred motivation is need. So fear actually motivates you.
That sounds horrible. Oh, but I could see, okay, so how I could this?
It's actually very powerful. So it's like, because you're afraid. See, right now, before we got on this podcast, you shared a few things with me that I don't know if, you know, I can
share it all.
Yeah. But, you know, in terms of like, you tell me you're at this stage where, you know, it's, what was the word you used?
Fuck, I don't remember.
Intense.
Yeah.
But if you really dive, it's like really and truly, it's about journaling on it and then realizing that maybe whenever you feel like, you know, I'm frustrated with this, what's beneath that? Because, okay, frustration, first of all, is the not self generator. But what's beneath that? What's frustrating you? Is there a fear there? Because if there's a fear, that fear is what's motivating you to actually move to the next level.
Oh my God. This is making so much sense in my life.
Motivation. It's like whenever you feel this particular fear, you're like, okay, let's look at your fears. You've got 28. I don't know it off heart. Oh my goodness, who knew? This is what we're going to be doing on Delusional.
I love it.
Is anyone live with us?
Someone is. One person is. Hi,
how are you finding our very interesting human design conversation? Okay.
And I love it. You can see my computer screen. Oh my God, that's so funny. Okay. Wait a second. Where is my chart? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So the channels, what do the channels mean? Does that mean struggle has to be a part of my life, or does it mean
remember every channel has its shadow side, and it's got its brilliance, right? So it's a matter of, are you living in the shadow side, or are you living in the brilliance of the channel of struggle? Because it, again, remember, it's a keynote. It doesn't necessarily mean, you know, like you're gonna struggle in life. No. I'll check what it is, because some of these I don't know off by heart, but I'm checking your fears, because these are the fears you have in your life.
I'm that's interesting.
So the fear that life is empty and meaningless, that's one big fear of yours, gate 28. And then there's gate 50, which is the fear of failing your responsibilities. Those are your two main like fears according to your chart.
That
now, whether sense. Or not, yeah, so you don't have all the other, these two are what shows up quite a bit. So it's like, you know, fear, motivation. I don't know much about it, but what I know is that fear actually motivates you. So it's not a bad thing, where you're literally feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't apply to everyone. It applies to you. Like the fear is actually what's gonna push you forward, you know?
It's interesting because I have been using that as a tool. Like if something scares me, I make a point to do it, just because I know that often the thing that scares us is the thing that we need to do. Yeah. But it's interesting now because I'm kind of at a like with what I'm dealing with what's intense in my life right now. It's kind of like, am I going to really do this thing? Like, am I going to really just do my business? Like, is this really going to be it for me? Kind of that kind of thing. And the alternative fucking terrifies me, because doing anything besides my business right now is scary to me, like, because it would be so horrible. So like in another sense, I think fear can be a motivation of like, wait, what's the alternative? Oh, that's literal hell for me. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I don't have to be in that spot anymore, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so the channel of struggle, it's interesting. And remember, whenever it says this, for instance, this is it's an individual circuit. It's in the individual circuit. So it means it's for you. This is actually for you. And then whatever you learn out of that place, you can choose to share it with everyone else. And the circuit is knowing. So it's just this knowing you have. But anyway, the channel is the energy. So this is the theme, okay? This is not what it means. It's a theme. It's the energy of the struggle to discover the meaning of existence. You are constantly in search of a goal worth fighting for, thereby empowering others and inspiring them to move towards eminent ideals in life. So that's what that channel is about. It's about, you know, perseverance. So it says you have a natural gift of perseverance, with which you walk through life, and you have a fighting spirit. Fighting is not a forced measure, but a way of life. So like, it makes sense when you're kind of like, and that comes from your root center, you know? So it's this pressure you get to fight for things, to fight for what's worth fighting for. But it's when you feel it's a pressure, it's not an idea. It's not like a thought. It's this pressure you feel from within. It's a knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's like, you know, what is worth fighting for right now? Don't just sit down. What is worth fighting for?
Yeah, so true. And all of the stuff you're saying is it's so clear that it's a part of my life. But it's hilarious because to describe that as struggle, or like not, I know that's not kind of what they meant, but in a way it is like you're struggling for something. You're like, you're fighting, you know? And
but it's not it's not the negative way we define it. Like you're struggling, like, oh my God. You know?
Right. Like, oh, I'm miserable right now. And like, that's basically what I equate it to, like how I associate the word. Like people why I make such a big deal of it is because people are like so discontent in their lives, but they think it has to be that way because struggle has to be a part of their life. And I'm trying to tell them, no, you don't have to be like long-term discontented in your life.
And that's so beautiful because that's just what it said. It said because remember, it's an individual, it's in the group, it's in the individual circuit, which means it's your fight. But because you fought it and you're fighting for that thing, you get to come out of it and be like, no, like only fight for what's worth fighting for. This thing is not worth fighting for. Working a 9 to 5 is not worth fighting for. Fight for whatever you want. That's what's worth fighting for. That's what's worth, doing the actual work for, not 9 to 5. You get what I mean? So it's kind of like you go through it and then you come out and you're like, you know what? No. People need to know that they don't need to fight for this anymore. It's not worth fighting for. So you're the one teaching people what's worth fighting for. And it's not 9 to 5 and many things. It's not guilt. It's not. So it's like whatever you experience individually, you come out and you're like, nah, that's actually not worth fighting for. I fought for it, didn't work out. Next. What are we fighting for,
So
Which is
true.
beautiful.
Oh my God, I love that, Ida. You're going to make me cry. It's beautiful to hear you talk about that passionately. Like, how do I describe it? Like kind of for me, but you just get me. You just really get me. And I appreciate that.
No, you're so welcome. So yeah, no, it's interesting.
Amazing. So can you pull up your chart and tell us about yours?
Yeah, why not? Where's
Yay!
mine?
This is so fascinating though, girl. So fascinating. And meditation, again, it's so easy to take all these words literally, like I don't meditate. But but I'm guessing it means something more like I have to meditate on a situation rather than like sitting down and meditating. But also like journaling is like my meditation. I get in like this trance.
Exactly. So let me pull up my chart.
Yay.
The only funny thing is it signs in automatically here for me.
Wait, but can you do it on your computer so we can see it?
Okay. Let me see. You'd have to allow me sharing whatchamacallit.
Yeah, of course.
I'm actually pulling this up and I'm like, do I want to? No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I feel like you like to talk about other people's human design more than yours.
Yeah, because I didn't get excited. No, like when you invited me, I was like, okay, let me do it. And as I'm doing, I'm getting this sinking feeling like, no.
It's so interesting.
But that's projector. The projector, I live my life. I'm basically here to know the other. I'm not here to know myself.
That's so cool.
Which is so crazy.
It's so crazy.
I've always known that. Like, I get so passionate about other people. And then when it comes, because it's like, when you initially said, oh, do you want, I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And as I'm pulling it up, I'm like, no.
And you get so lit up, like just talking about my chart, you get so lit up. It's interesting to me because like, most people are excited to see like they want to, I guess we assume or we hear in society that most people would just want to like talk about themselves, but Ida truly doesn't feel that way. And it's not even like a thing of like, if you want to talk about yourself, you're bad. And if you don't, you're good. But I can just see that you genuinely, it's always been like this. Every time we've talked about this stuff, you get really lit up when we talk about me or when you talk about somebody else.
Someone else.
Yeah.
It just lights me up. And then when it's like, yeah, now talk about yourself, I'm like, No, and the funny thing is not that I don't like talking about myself. It's like when I study my chart in comparison to the other. So it's like everything I'm doing is the more I know my chart, the more it makes me know another person's chart. Because it's like the more my chart is like helping transform my life. When I see your chart and I see elements, I'm like, oh my God, okay, let's go. which is,
love that.
it's so interesting. I've always been this way, always, even before I knew human design. I'm always so lit up about the other. Oh my God, like hyping people up. What is it that you want to do? Let's do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And that's basically why I'm here on earth, to help other people share their message and speak up and just hype them up to be able to do that.
Totally. I know that's been your brand. When we started this podcast, you came on and said, I like to hype people up.
That's what I love doing. And it's in a form of like, I feel like the best way I hype people up is like, you know, you can do the thing. Like you can actually do the thing. What is the thing that you want to do? Like, what's stopping you? Let's get you to a place where you feel so good about yourself. Like, and I guess that's where all of this comes in, because it's like you look at this chart and it's like, look at the magnificence in this chart. How can you not express that? How can you not? Like, how can you not? You know?
And that's when you know that that's something you're meant to do, because when you can't even imagine that other people couldn't because you're so into it, that's always how I know that it's like a life purpose thing that you have. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there are certain things about me where I'm like, you can't just stand by and feel iffy about your life. Like, how can people just not take action? How can people just not like do crazy shit and just randomly quit their jobs? I don't get it. Obviously, there are so many reasons why people wouldn't, and that's not everybody's path. But I can't imagine people doing something, or can't imagine, right? People not being passionate about getting what they want at this very moment right now, you know? And that's how I know, you know.
Exactly. Wow. No, I love it.
It's supposed to be what we're working on.
Yeah. They're powerful.
Yeah. All right. Well, shall I stop sharing?
Yeah, stop sharing. And I have something to say, actually.
Yes.
About Andrew Tate and his brother.
Woo! Let's get into it. I love how much we talk about pop culture here.
I'm actually quite disappointed.
Well, I'm interested.
I know at the beginning of this channel, like I kind of, you know, spoke about him in terms of like, yes, I don't condone majority of what he says, but I like the fact that he's able to speak his mind and say what he believes, and he stands by it.
Right.
The essence and the element of that is what I adore about him, but not necessarily like because some of the things
what he says. Right.
I don't see, but I love the fact, because I feel like if everyone could truly express themselves and say whatever they truly wanted to say and stand by, we would all go really far, you know, which is interesting, because that's what I'm passionate about helping other people do.
Yes.
But yesterday, I was just scrolling on Instagram like you do, and then I came across someone's story, and then the person's kind of like, oh, it's interesting that, you know, what does he call himself? High level man. Yeah, so the person goes, it's interesting that a high level man only has lice, mice, and rats as his friends now. And so I was like, what is this about? So I look at the post. By the way, he's in prison at the moment for sex trafficking, allegedly. Allegedly. And it's kind of like my heart kind of sank, because I'm like, he represented a lot of things for a lot of people. And it's funny because everyone you come across who likes him it's not necessarily about what he's saying, but it's about the fact that, oh my God, there is someone who is fearless, who is standing, you know, behind their ideas and stuff. Even if a lot of people hate him, he was still able to still say, this is what I believe in, this is what I stand for. And to now, you know, this coming out and tainting that for people, I think my heart sank there, because I was like, again, it's alleged. So he's innocent until proven guilty. But it's just so unfortunate that someone who was as iconic in a sense of speaking up, sharing his truth, whether or not people liked it or not, is no longer that icon for people. And a lot of people were looking up to him to also be able to speak up and speak their own truth, whether people liked it or not. And so, yeah, no, I was very, I was just disappointed, because there's a part of me that's like, oh my goodness, you had this really high standard and hopefully he's innocent. But if you're not, like, it's like, what was all of that about? Which is interesting, because I remember I think our 2 episodes ago, no, was it last episode where I was talking about Elon? 2 episodes ago.
2 episodes.
2 episodes ago, where you were like, well, but people can make up shit. You know, people can tell you what you want to hear. And so it kind of makes me feel like, okay, so is this what this is? Like, did you just tell us, you know, did you just tell people what they needed to hear? Or, yeah, I guess I don't know how I feel about it, but I guess there's a part of me that's kind of like, you know, you stood for self-expression, freedom of speech and self-expression. And now, you know, this has come out, which is like quite unfortunate if truly he was sex trafficking this whole time, you know?
Fucking interesting. This conversation is going to get really interesting, because I can see this from multiple perspectives, and it's interesting to see how you responded to the situation, or how you're responding currently, and to observe myself in how I'm responding to this, and this whole topic of what the public is learning from people in the spotlight like this. I think this topic is rich. It's very there's a lot of depth here to this topic. Yes, this man, Andrew Tate, but really how he's affecting and what happens to him affects the rest of the world. This is one of my favorite philosophical topics in general. Okay, so first of all, we kind of know by now that I'm pretty conspiracy minded. Not fully. I don't like to waste my time. I think I just want to see what our comments are doing. Okay. I think that if you get wrapped up in the conspiracy world, it's the same thing as being wrapped up in the news. There are some stories that are maybe real, some that are maybe fake, and you just like obsess over what you really can't control at the end of the day. But I don't, if I'm going to trust anyone, it's going to be the people. It's not going to be any authority figure. Okay. So let me say that. Now, when I hear something like this goes down, my immediate thought is that man got really powerful really quickly, and not everybody liked that. Yeah. And maybe some other really powerful people didn't like that. And people get framed for stuff in my mind.
He's saying, that's what he and his brother are saying. Like, even on the news, they're like, we literally got too powerful and this is what's happening. And you guys should, like, these were not their words, but it was coming from a place of like, you guys should actually be scared. Not like be scared, but like, there's no more freedom of speech. There's no more true self-expression, because you still got to put filters around it, because you can express yourself so much so that you become so powerful. Because imagine, let's even say his followers are so many. Okay, fine. Let's just even say only 3 million people in the world are following him. We're 8 billion. 3 million, that's still a lot of people. If their mindset are to change to a place where they're like, I'm going to start speaking up for myself. I'm going to start like believing in what I believe. I don't care what people think. Can you imagine the ripple effect? So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. However, I really don't know, but I like to offer people innocent until proven guilty. And I do hope that, you know, things work out in a way that I guess the truth comes out, whether he did it or not. But
God,
it's just so interesting, because it's like even on this podcast, you know, I'm catching myself in moments where I'm like, okay, should I filter myself? You know, should I censor myself? Where it's kind of like, wow, where are we now? If we need to censor ourselves, which is not something I'm wanting to do.
Right.
Because I still want to speak my mind and share my perspective, but I catch myself in moments where I want to censor myself, and I need to be brave enough to speak my mind, you know?
This is scary. It's scary from all angles, I think. Okay, so I don't know, and I didn't know anything about this. I don't keep up with any of this shit, right? So Ida, you're telling me this and I'm hearing it 100% for the first time. And immediately this is what I think in my head. Where do I start? Okay, so the reason why I immediately went to he's being framed, I don't feel strongly about that. I'm also quite neutral about Andrew Tate. I respect the stuff that Ida respects, but I disagree with I just wouldn't want someone like that, if he really believes those things, to be around me. I question if he I do question if he does really believe those things. I think if you say stuff like that, he's
the true definition of a delusional person.
Yes,
and
yes.
Because I think, was it last episode we were talking about, you know, can you be delusional to a place where it actually comes back to bite you, like the holistic psychologist?
That's kind of where I'm going with this. But first I want to say, like, whether like kind of what we were talking about with Kim Kardashian, the business strategy that he has works, whether it's true or not, if he really believes these things or not, the strategy, and whether it's intentional or not, the strategy he has to say crazy stuff or stuff that he just says very divisive stuff that gets a lot of eyes on his shit, and you blow up. People get really famous by saying stuff that is very divisive. So whether he meant to do that or not, blah, 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 that's what happened. Okay, so I feel quite neutral about him. I just think from a business perspective, that is one way to get a lot of people's eyes on you. That's all I think about it. So I'm not like, go Andrew Tate, or like, no, he didn't do it, but that's how I see him. But then when this sex trafficking stuff happens, it sounds very newsy to me. It's like, you know how the news fixates on certain topics over time? Like it was COVID, and then like it was like Black Lives Matter, and then it was like now it's sex trafficking, and it's like a fad. It's like they make such a thing about it, like people are dying and people are like suffering. It's that whole suffering thing. And that can be very true. Like we all know that suffering is happening all around the world, right? We know that that's happening. That's legit. That's true. And the media starts saying stuff to us like, don't you care? We need to care about this. But then here's where the hypocrisy and the lack of integrity comes in. All of a sudden we're on a different topic now. All of a sudden we don't care about Black Lives Matter anymore. All of a sudden now we care about sex trafficking, and that's all we're hearing about. So like sex trafficking is like the fad in like how we're holding people accountable and shitting on people and like saying, oh, this person is fucking up, let's be against this person, but this person's speaking out against that person, so let's be with that person. It's very, in my eyes, it's very herd mentality. It's one of these things that doesn't make sense. If this is a big deal and we care about this, why are we just gonna kind of forget when the next thing comes up? So to me, that sounds fake, because that's not where my values lie. what I believe in is what I believe in. And I don't just, oh, now I don't really believe in that because that's not really what I'm hearing about around, or now I don't really talk about that because that's just, or I'm going to talk about this because I feel like I have to talk about this. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like sex trafficking has been like, and look, like, I think all of this stuff does serve a purpose. Like there's a place for, like, we need to look at certain things. We need to look at how people are being treated unfairly. We need to look at the fact that kids are being sex trafficked, right? I'm not saying that this shit doesn't happen. I just think I have no fucking clue who is actually doing that and who is actually not, and how these things are being used as a tool to tear people down. Like, I think there's just as much of a probability as these topics being used to like tear people down as there is like that all these things that the media is saying is true. I think there's equal probabilities for these things. So anyway, I hear about sex trafficking and Andrew Tate, and I'm like, it just sounds fabricated. I'm not saying that he didn't do it. I'm just saying it sounds fabricated. But here's another layer, and this is the thing that you were saying about with like what can happen when people fall, when people get too powerful. Do you know how much I have written in my journal dispelling limiting beliefs that when I get famous, something bad is going to happen to me like this? Like, I have deep fears in my body about getting famous or getting a lot of eyes on me. And because I'm speaking out about stuff that kind of is divisive, but it's not really necessarily by design. It's just stuff that like I believe in that is like unconventional. Because I'm unconventional, if I grow to a certain place, I'm going to end up in jail. I'm going to end up framed and in jail. And that's a limiting belief. And also, like, isn't it still worth it? But like, that's a limiting belief that I have. So like it's like there are so many layers here. Like, yes, I have my belief system about the media and what's even true or not true, but also I have my own bias. Could be a bias, could be not, about what happens when you get famous, because that's also a narrative that, oh, when you get famous, you're an activist, I guess, for a lack of a better word, about something that you believe in that's kind of against the system, you will get framed for something, like something bad will happen. That's a reason to stay small, right? So I'm having all sorts of feelings about this right now. And I see, Ida, how you're reacting to it. And you're like, well, what if Andrew Tate doesn't have the integrity that I thought that he had? And that's another thing too. Like, that's a whole nother thing of like how we're responding. It's like, it just makes me think, like, what even is reality? I don't even know what's reality. Is it all our mindset shaping this reality, or are things happening and we're getting to decide how to look at them? Like, to me, it's like, it gets to be such a deep, trippy topic. And now I want to hear what you have to say about all of this.
I'm speechless. I'm actually speechless.
Wow.
Because it's like, you know that thing I had, that there was a time like when me, you and Rose were talking, and I said I felt like I was having an out of body experience. I just had that thing right now. Where it's like it's like we're on a different planet having this conversation. We're not here.
What do you think that means when that happens?
I don't know.
It's so trippy, you guys. Like, I
jump a reality. I don't know.
Do you think it's when you, I mean, I've had that feeling before, and I don't know if you guys watching.
The whole time you were talking, I'm like, oh my God, like I needed to ground myself here, because it's like we're not here. We're having this conversation like on a different planet, which is weird, because I'm sure, the people listening will be like, okay, weirdos.
I honestly feel like everyone has felt this before. Like, it's like a deja vu feeling. It's like, has this happened before? Is this real life feeling? And Ida got this feeling before when I told her about my business school, which is
I just
funny.
exited my body for a second.
Yeah, and it was just like
went
a new
somewhere.
project I was working on. It
Yeah.
like obviously it's a big deal, but like not necessarily for Ida. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think what could that be, but I kind of feel like it's whenever we start having like esoteric
Okay.
like conversation, because as much as this is grounded, it's still a bit up here
Of course. Yeah.
in that how many people are thinking about this? They just want to eat, sleep, you know?
I
And
don't
maybe
I
sex.
don't know about that. I think some people, I guess, I honestly feel like anyone who has technology, who is around our age, I feel like everyone's thinking about stuff like this. Not Andrew Tate, but like what is reality? I don't know. I don't know.
I wish everyone was thinking about it. But I don't think, you know, maybe I feel like the scale has tipped a bit. Maybe majority are thinking of it, more so minority a few years ago, because there's a lot of awareness right now.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of awareness. Like I'm listening to conversations that are being had. I'm kind of listening, watching what's going on. Like, I mean, right now, wellness is everywhere. Everyone's talking about rest. You know, before
Yeah.
hustle, and now everyone's talking about rest. So it's kind of like I see the shift. We're moving into, you know, this well-being, this self-fulfilling, this sovereignty kind of era, maybe. And I'm here for it.
Yeah. I know. I love it. I love it. But yeah, I would say this is like this topic is like one of the things like honestly, I don't like have this is going to sound weird and like inaccurate, but I don't have worries, you know, like people, you know how like people worry about the state of the world, they worry about the environment, they worry about climate change. I do not find it a good use of time to worry about that because I know my worrying isn't doing shit. So I stopped worrying about that a long time ago. But I would say the one thing that's like in the back of my head that's kind of a big world. What?
I was like, the robots.
Oh my God, not even that, because even that I'm like, I will die with the earth. I don't know. To me, it's just like very clear. Like I would just fine. Like if the world gets to that place, like I will reincarnate or whatever. But it is this idea of, is there like an evil, what do they call it? It's like in the conspiracy world, but like the most powerful people in the world are this evil group of people that like fuck everyone's lives up if they get powerful enough. Like, is there a like supremacy of people that are fucking everyone up? That is the one thing in the back of my head. I just don't know. It kind of seems like that. It could be my entire mindset that's fabricating that and reflecting that back to me. But that is still just something in my head. And even journaling, I'm like, the only place that I could get to, I did get to a decent place. I've like woken up at 5 a.m. It's not like I lose sleep over this, but like in the past, I have like woken up at 5 a.m. and we all know I sleep till like 11 a.m. usually. Woken up at 5 a.m. and had to journal about this because, and even in that journaling session, I just got to a place of like, I guess I'll just not get that famous where I'll have to worry about that. Like there was not a really big empowering conclusion. Like besides like one, it's worth it to like die or be in jail for something I love, so who gives a fuck anyway? And then two, I don't really want to be famous to the point where like I can't go out in public, so I won't even get there anyway. I couldn't even find a better solution to that. So it's just, to me, this is like one of these things where it's like if that's not the case, it's still indirectly doing a really good job of showing people that it's scary to be powerful, and that sucks to me.
Yeah. Wow. I had something to say, but it left me. Yeah, but it's all interesting. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say is I don't worry either, because I know in the end God wins, love wins. So it's like I kind of lean into that more.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna think about whether evil wins or not. I just know that love wins, period. How love's gonna win, I don't know. But I know love wins.
That's cool. I definitely know like God wins, nature wins, but I had not even thought about love wins. Like that doesn't feel true in my body yet. And that's a really good thing for people to get behind. I think that's I wanted to hear Ida's very chill perspective on this, and this is why, because I think that's a great, like, what if love wins in the end? What if it wins? Then what? Then you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, and I believe love will win. But I feel like when love wins, it doesn't end there. It's just another world, a new earth that we get to experience.
That's amazing.
Where power is equally distributed.
Yeah.
It's not one that, only 1% has the whole power and the whole money in the whole world, and everyone else is like just, struggling. It's like everyone gets to experience abundance, and we all get to, flourish in that. How amazing.
100%. So what in you knows that love wins? Like, what evidence have you seen? What is it? Just a random knowing? How do you just know that?
The basis, the foundation of that comes from growing up in a Christian home, growing up in the church, and the Bible, Revelation, talks about this great, fight. Obviously, it's all symbolic. This great fight, and in the end, God wins. God is love. Love wins. And it's a prophecy. So Revelations is a prophecy, and it's funny because majority of the things in Revelation are actually happening. A lot of Christians don't like reading Revelations because they find it very scary, because it's actually very scary.
Why?
And it's funny because the things that are in it, it talks about how challenging things will get before it gets okay. Like, God doesn't just win, like it's a battle. Love doesn't just win, it's a battle where it's like, and not because God can't just win, but it's just how it is, where it's like, the more, that's why I was talking about the scale and which side it's tipping. It's like the more we're here, this side will just go like that. But it's a matter of bringing people on this side, because at the moment, some people are still sleeping, for lack of a better word, So until we all kind of wake up, it won't be an easy fight.
Yeah, I get why they don't want to read that part.
And the Revelation, and it's like word for word, like, I think there's something in Revelation that talks about a peace treaty being signed, and once that signs, that's the beginning of it's called Great Tribulation. I'm just looking at him.
What?
No, because as I'm talking about him, so interesting.
I am fascinated.
I know, yeah. And it's funny because a lot of presidents have tried to sign it and they were not able to, but I think Donald Trump signed it with Israel. So I think it actually happened.
Oh my God, that's fucking hilarious.
And it talks about that's gonna be like the mark, the beginning of the Great Tribulation.
Donald Trump marks the beginning of the Great Tribulation.
No, not Donald Trump. The peace treaty being signed between Israel. So
yeah, but but like in a way it was when he was in office.
I guess.
That's to me that's just
what,
hilarious. Like
yeah. And so it's interesting because it's kind of like, once I heard them talking about the peace treaty, I was like, oh my God. Because it was all over the news. They're like, the peace treaty, I forgot the country. It's between Israel and somewhere. Like a lot of leaders have been trying to unite these two, but they haven't succeeded. It's been a challenge, but somehow I definitely think the treaty is signed. It's between Israel and some other country. A peace treaty, it's called.
Yeah, like I feel like I almost know the country, but can't think of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's like, once that happened, I was like, oh, okay. How would the Great Tribulation be? The Great Tribulation,
Yeah.
So yeah, no, a lot of people, it's Revelation is literally revelation of everything that's going to happen. And when I say it's like dito, it's dito.
Whoa.
Like it's very vivid. It shouldn't be a scary book because it's a prophecy for, us to be prepared. That's why I didn't necessarily believe that, yes, the Christians will come for me. I think it's just a book for the world in general. It's a prophecy for the world. It's like,
yeah,
it's not a warning per se, but it's like, it's a prophecy for us to know, okay, this is coming, so prepare for it. But no one's bothered. Even when you go to church, not many people preach on Revelations. Like not many churches even open that part.
Wow. That's so interesting.
Because they don't want to know. We don't want to know.
Yeah.
But it's about knowing and preparing ourselves for what's to come. So we're not surprised. And that's why when COVID came, a lot of Christians didn't want it because it talks about a chip being implanted.
What? In Revelations, it talks about a chip?
Apparently, I haven't read that exactly, but no, it's not a chip. It's called the mark of the beast. And everyone suspects that it's a chip. But it says there will be a mark of the beast and everyone's going to take it. Everyone's going to so everyone kind of thought it was COVID and we all took it. But it was like, we're going to take it without even knowing we've taken the mark of the beast. So if it was COVID vaccine, then, oh my goodness, how did this conversation get here? See,
I love it. It's awesome. It's so interesting. Okay, and I've heard whispers of this. This is definitely reflective in the conspiracy community because I've heard like the Bible like kind of lays out everything.
It lays out everything and it talks about the mark of the beast. So a lot of people were like, the COVID vaccine has to be the mark of the beast because it says without it, you can't buy, you can't travel, you can't do, like you need it to live. But yeah, it's interesting.
So then what happens to the people who get the mark of the beast and don't get the mark of the beast?
Not good news. I don't want to get into that.
Why? We have to know, Ida. Some of us will not read the Bible. We have to know.
You have to go and research for yourself. It's even on Google. You don't have to. You just type in the mark of the beast. It's on Google.
Ida, I don't even like Googling stuff. I don't even read.
So basically I guess it's what's happening. It's it's not great because if you take the mark of the beast, it's basically how I know it. It's basically like you've gone against God's will, and so some Christians will say you won't make it to heaven, like you'll be left behind.
Holy shit. Well, it's interesting because I was already thinking like when you say, okay, it's going to be a crazy battle and a lot of people don't like looking into that, immediately I think, okay, because they see that a lot of people are going to die,
Yeah, and it will happen that way. In battle, a lot of people die, some will be witnesses, some will be part of it, but it's a fight. But I don't think it's like, a fist fight. But I think it's like a mental fight.
It's like the struggle in the human design sense.
Yeah. And so, yeah, no, it's interesting, but we'll see. We live and we see. So it's funny because some churches needed to come out and tell their, congregation that no, this is not the mark of the beast. Just take it.
Wow.
A lot of people were scared. They're like, hey, I don't want 666 on my forehead.
Right. Wow. And it's interesting to see the religious world and the conspiracy world intertwined, because they do, like you say. But I also just know they do, like in the States, I get along with a lot, with not only to a certain extent, but I have some great friends who are very, very Catholic. And I met them when I worked at this health food store here, because the health food store, they're just kind of in that, they're founded on religious beliefs. But it just so happens that a lot of the Catholics I met, I'm like, whoa, you're saying a lot of truth, because it's just the basic value of, they don't give a fuck what society's doing. They're going to do what makes sense to them. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate that a lot. So then also there's a group in the States that they call themselves patriots.
Okay.
So depending on who you are, they could be really scary, because they like cross over with people that are causing a lot of hurt and harm. So like not everyone who calls themselves a patriot is like that, but some people see that, because a lot of them are like that. They're like, anyone, like they'll like kill, or how do I say it? They're people that are causing a lot of hate in the world. They're not like, oh, we're all in this together. They're like, no, we're like the species that needs to live, so they're like scary folks. But then there's some patriots that are just like, I have these rights and I want to keep these rights. Like they have like a lot of American flags. Like they're the folks that are like, they're patriots of like US. Okay, so like some of these people are just like, they just want to, they want to keep their rights. They don't want anyone to choose for them, which I respect. And then there's some people that are thinking that they're better than other people or more worthy than other people. Obviously, that's not what I can get behind. But those people also tend to be very religious and in the conspiracy realm. So it's just interesting to see how these groups mix. And like I never got the vaccine. Like I didn't think it was right for my body, but I also don't think that everyone who did get the vaccine is going to be fucked. Like I just don't. I just think that everyone has their right decision to make, and what everyone's decision was their right decision in that moment. But I think all this stuff is just fascinating.
Yeah. Interesting.
It is, I'd.
It's interesting. Wow, the conversation went south.
South?
In a good way. It's like, wow, I did not envision it going this way, but that's the beauty. These are our conversations.
I know.
What should I have said? Went west?
What?
I was like, what should I have said? It went west, because I know when people say, oh, that went south, it means it's bad. But no, that's not what it means for me.
Okay.
It means like, it was totally unexpected. Like, wow.
Yeah. Human design to conspiracy theories. But it's interesting. We kind of get into this realm. Like I'm noticing we're getting into this realm of like, what is the truth behind what's happening at such a big scale on Earth? And I kind of get the feeling that we get into these topics because it has to do with our narratives around success.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like this, I do feel like this stuff came up subconsciously. Like these topics, they just come up subconsciously,
Yeah, and I wish they were open enough for everyone to, because not many people can have these conversations. Like, people are scared. That at the back of my mind, really, quite frankly, I'm like, do we keep this? Like, did something I say is something I said coming back to like bite me later? Stuff like that. Because it's like, nowadays, it's like, oh my days, you can't even speak your mind in peace,
Do you feel like you might get canceled?
No, I'm not even canceled, because I don't think I said anything out of the ordinary that I personally don't stand behind.
Right.
But it's interesting, like the thought of even that, we shouldn't have to like, bless you. We shouldn't even have to be thinking about this.
I know.
We should all just be direct and honest and be able to speak up and stand behind what we say without feeling like we're going to get penalized for it.
Yeah. So what is your scenario of getting penalized? Like, what if you could create a scenario that you were nervous about right now, just even in the back of your head, why that's there? What would it be?
I don't think I personally have a scenario. I think all I'm seeing is from the outside and what's happened to people. So, you look at Kanye speaking up and how his words were like, taken out of context. You look at how a lot of people's words are being taken out of context, or like, something could have happened 50 years ago. They just pull it up and all of a sudden it's like, it still has to, like, come on, people change. So at what point does what we do, well, let me say that again. How responsible are we for what we do, and at what point? Should we still be held responsible for something that happened 20 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating.
Or have we evolved past that? And, because nowadays, like even 40 years ago can still come back and bite you.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, you did this when you were 2.
Right.
So you got to pay for it.
Which is so funny, right?
Now that you're 99.
Yeah.
Okay. You gotta pay for it now.
That's hilarious. But here's the thing though. First, I believe that we're all starting to be like, cancel culture is fucking stupid. Like, obviously we all have the baseline values that like people should be held accountable, but like, okay, people are held accountable, but like, but here's the thing, no one can be canceled. No one can. God, I loved this meme, also in the conspiracy realm, Ida, that I saw a couple years ago. Only God can cancel me. I thought that was powerful. It's because that's the thing, like people.
Like, only God can judge me. Only God can cancel me.
Yeah, only God can which is true, you guys. It's not like you're actually canceled. It's like you have a big group of people against you that don't want to give you their money, but like, fine, find the people that are with you.
On a survival level, where you can be a billionaire one day and the next day you're not.
Yeah, but I don't believe that. Like, if you get canceled, there are still a billion other ways to make $1 billion.
But then companies can decide, no, we're no longer aligning with you because your views are warped.
That is what happens, but there are other ways to make money. Like, make money. What about, because here's the thing, like with everyone that gets canceled, there's still, I would say, still millions of people that are still behind them. Even fucking serial killers who actually did all that shit had groups of people that were with them still. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a phenomenon that happens. No matter if you do something bad or not,
you still have followers.
You still have followers. Wow. There's still ways to make money. Why don't you just do it the entrepreneurial way? Fuck the big corporations. So I like the way that I'm starting to see it is like, it's cool actually realizing this in this moment, because Ida, let me tell you a little something. When I was on my podcast, Rude Awakening a Health podcast, first starting out, Ida was like one of the first guests on the podcast. I think you were like my second guest after Meg Dahl. Okay, but I would say stuff, basically everything I said, I would be so nervous. And I did have some people on that were like educating me during the episode, and they had like activists, followers. And I was really afraid that I would say something wrong, even though I was disagreeing with everything they said. I wasn't saying anything against them, but I was still afraid that people were going to get me. And like, I'm just realizing now we've now talked about a lot of stuff that's very controversial. And I know I have said stuff in this episode that people would be like, nope, I am so not with you on that. Nothing too crazy, but like, it's still divisive stuff that I have said today.
The fact that we even have to think about that.
Yes, but here's the thing. I don't care anymore. I truly don't care. And I didn't even know, Ida, that I didn't care until this conversation. It even saying all this stuff about me going to jail if I get famous, even that, after saying that out loud, I'm like, I don't care. Like you say, and what you said helped me too, but like love wins, or like the right stuff will prevail. Like at the end of the day, like, what's actually meant to happen in my life? Am I meant to just get shut down and like not really be existent on this earth? I don't think so. So like something else has to happen. There has to be a different resolution. So like the way that I am starting to see things, it's like canceling isn't even real. It's not even real. It's not even real. You still have followers. You still have people behind you. You still have other ways to make money. You can't get canceled.
When Ed says something is not real, something ain't real, baby. Everything is not real, okay?
All the things I say are not real. Sacrifice, guilt. And people are like, what are you talking about? That's very real in my life. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be. You decide how real that is. Like, we get to decide if we're actually canceled, or if we're not. Like, so to me, I'm like, at the end of the day, people are going to disagree with what I say, maybe. And it's never, ever, ever worth it for me to not say something that I'm thinking, which is crazy, but like, it's never worth it for me to not say something that I'm thinking because I'm worried about what people will think. Why am I on this earth? Why are we here? Why are we here if I'm not going to do that? Pointless. It makes my entire career pointless if I'm not saying something, not being myself, not talking about my true beliefs, what's true to me at this point in time, not talking about that because I think that people are going to be mad at me. Okay, I would rather have people be mad at me than not be who I really am. It's just like priorities, you know?
I love that. I feel like, we've come to that natural, well, for me anyway.
Yeah, you're like, I can see you're like, I'm kind of done with this.
I'm like, I want to be in my bed like yesterday. However, before we get off, when we have these conversations, it's energy. It takes a lot out of me.
Yeah.
Like a lot out of me.
But is that a good thing? That doesn't sound good.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think my energy will go whether I like it or not, but it depends on where I want to pour it. And I wanted to pour it into here. And today I've done a bit more than I would. I've had a lot of like, I did a live right after the live. I jumped on. So it's like I've pushed myself.
That is exhausting. Yeah, I'm tired right now. I'm tired after this conversation for sure.
Yeah, I've pushed myself beyond my limits.
Okay.
So I'm gonna honor that. But before we go, I wanted to say, if you happen to listen to this and you're also thinking, oh my goodness, I really want to express myself, but like I'm kind of struggling, or like, what we were talking about with the fears and stuff and having to censor ourselves and stuff. There's a lady on Instagram that I quite adore. Her work is all about self-censorship and how to kind of go about it. Her name is called Africa Brooke. So check her out, because do you know her?
Yeah.
I mentioned her to you.
Maybe. I think I'm following her.
Okay. Yeah. So her work is profound. Like, she really talks about how to not censor yourself and has like deep and meaningful conversation around self-censorship. So if that's something that you're struggling with, do feel free, because I think having such a conversation without resources can sometimes leave people at like, okay, so where do I go from here? You know, I love all of this. I wish I could, you know, speak my mind equally, but where do I go from here? I feel like Africa Brooke is a good place to start, you know. Her work is revered quite a lot, and yeah, it's very powerful. She's unapologetic, fearless, and yeah, it's incredible to watch.
So cool. Yeah, that's great.
I think if you want to follow another person, that's like, you know, Am is also someone who doesn't you know, really. It's interesting because I express myself too, but it's just around different things.
Yep.
Like I don't feel so strong about, you know, conspiracy theory and stuff like that, but there are things that I really feel strong about that I feel like you need to express, come what may. Like you gotta express it, you know, and not be worried about how people will feel or what people will think, because at the end of the day, those are your thoughts, those are what you stand by and for, and you've got to stand by and for it, you know.
Totally. I just feel like you do really well in this, or like what you like to do, which I'm assuming is what you're feeling called to teach on, is what you're putting out there, is more general, gentle topics and more tackling like what's happening inside of you, and not so like, I like to kind of move towards the conflict sometimes because I just feel like nobody else is saying something about it. So I know that if I'm getting like quote unquote frustrated because nobody else is saying something, it just means I want to say it. It's not like I think everyone should share it, but that's a sign for me to share on it. So I'm like, why the fuck is this not out there in the open? Why are people not talking about, like on my story today, I was like, you don't have to wear deodorant. Like I haven't worn deodorant since I was in college. If you stop wearing it, then you stop smelling. You don't need it. And it's the same with makeup. You can wear it if you want. You can wear all these things if you want. But when I stopped wearing makeup, my skin got better. So like there was no need to cover up. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, okay, let's let Ida off the hook here, everybody.
Yeah, I'm spent.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you to our watcher. There's still someone watching.
I wish they'd comment.
I don't know. Who are you? Answer in the chat, you guys. But thank you so much for being on. This was such an interesting conversation. Thank you, Ida, for sticking with us, even though it's been a long day for you. And yep, find us on Instagram and on YouTube. Message us. We'll have some offerings in the show notes for you guys.
Yay.
Okay, bye everybody.
Go on to bed.